The story begins with a girl named Catherine. Catherine studied in a school where both religious and non-religious students were taught. The school was managed by the Catholic community, who often gave preference to religious students. Catherine started experiencing strange dreams. In her dream, she saw herself going on a vacation with her father and mother, but suddenly, their car met with an accident, and her mother died in the crash. This terrible dream woke her up abruptly. After waking, she went to her calendar and crossed off a date marked as the day to meet her mom and dad. The school holidays were about to begin, and all the parents were coming to pick up their children. Catherine was very excited to spend time with her parents after such a long time. However, Father Brian informed her that her parents couldn't come due to personal reasons. Catherine was deeply upset because she had been eagerly waiting to meet them. While other children left with their parents, Catherine remained, unable to understand why her parents couldn't come. At the same school, there was another girl named Rose. Rose was rebellious and often broke the rules. She dreamed of becoming a model, but she hadn't shared this ambition with her parents. Rose had a boyfriend named Rick, with whom she was in a secretive and inappropriate relationship, as such behavior was strictly prohibited in the school. Recently, she was terrified because her period was delayed, and she feared she might be pregnant. Father Brian called Rose to his office, where Catherine was also present. Rose had arranged for her parents to come on Friday, but the holidays started earlier, meaning her parents, too, wouldn't arrive on time. Like Catherine, Rose had to stay at the hostel until the holidays ended. Before leaving for an engagement, Father Brian asked Rose to take care of Catherine since she was a senior, and it was her responsibility to look after her. As the holidays began, all the children left the school with their parents, leaving only Catherine, Rose, and a few caretakers to look after the place. Rose had no interest in Catherine. She initially talked to her normally but soon became preoccupied with her plans to sneak out at night with her boyfriend, Rick. The two of them were excited to have some fun together. That evening, Rose got ready to leave with Rick, casually mentioning to Catherine that the two caretakers wore wigs because they had lost their hair due to some ritual. Catherine found this odd and unsettling but didn't understand what to make of it. Left alone, she felt uneasy and unsure of what to do. Rose left the school with Rick for their night out, oblivious to Catherine's loneliness and confusion. Catherine, left with nothing to do, wandered into Rose's room and began examining her belongings. Meanwhile, Rose stayed away with Rick for several days, enjoying herself, until Father Brian returned to the school. After their escapades, Rick brought Rose back to the school. As Rose said goodbye to Rick and went to the restroom, she suddenly heard an eerie, non-human scream. The unsettling sound drew her toward the basement, where she discovered Catherine performing a strange and dangerous ritual. It appeared as though Catherine was under some kind of spell or being controlled by an unknown force. The sight terrified Rose, and she ran back to her room in panic. Elsewhere, the story introduces a girl named Joan, who was deeply terrified because she felt haunted by strange, shadowy figures. Joan had a troubled past and had been admitted to a mental asylum due to her deteriorating mental health. To avoid being judged by others, she had removed her hospital identification tag. Joan was now on a journey to a mysterious place, waiting at a bus stop, her mind clouded with fear and uncertainty. The story takes a dramatic turn when a man named Bill appears at the bus stop where Joan was waiting. Bill asks Joan where she wants to go, and after she provides the location, he offers her a ride, saying that their route passes through her destination. Without much thought, Joan agrees to join him. Bill's wife, Linda, is also in the car and takes good care of Joan. Later, Joan is shown waking up in a hotel room. She had fallen asleep in Bill's car, and Bill and Linda brought her to the hotel to rest. When Joan wakes up, she goes to the bathroom to take a shower. As she undresses, a deep scar on her shoulder becomes visible. At that moment, she experiences vivid visions of a man trying to kill her. She recalls being shot in the shoulder by a police officer while escaping from the man. The scar is a reminder of that traumatic incident. After getting ready, Joan goes to speak with Bill and begins questioning his intentions. Why would a stranger go out of his way to help her? Bill reveals that when he saw her at the bus stop, she reminded him of someone. Moreover, he believes in God and considers it his duty to help others. Meanwhile, the story shifts back to Rose and Catherine. Rose confronts Catherine about what she was doing in the basement. Catherine doesn't give a detailed explanation and only says that her parents are dead and will never come to get her. This statement stems from a vision Catherine had. Rose tries to comfort Catherine, encouraging her to think positively and believe that her parents might come for her after all. Catherine, however, envies Rose's seemingly carefree life, as Rose enjoys her life by lying to everyone. For the moment, Rose helps Catherine fall asleep and advises her to rest. Later, when Rose returns to Catherine's room, she finds Catherine convulsing and her body twisting unnaturally, as though she is possessed by an unknown entity. It becomes evident that Catherine is under the influence of a dark force, torturing her in a terrifying manner. Rose, horrified by what she witnesses, runs for help. The narrative interweaves Joan's encounter with Bill. Joan, still wary, questions Bill further about his motives. Bill reassures her, explaining that her presence at the bus stop evoked memories of someone important to him, and his faith in God drives him to help others in need. This moment hints at deeper layers to Bill's character and motivations. The narrative takes a chilling twist when Bill reveals a truth to Joan. Despite Joan's statement that she doesn't believe in God or follow any religious principles, Bill shows her a photograph of his daughter. The girl in the photo is none other than Rose, whom we've been following in another part of the story. Bill reveals that Rose, his daughter, died 10 years ago. This revelation uncovers a key element of the story. The events of Rose and Catherine occurred 10 years in the past, while Joan and Bill's scenes are set in the present day. Rose, who appears alive in the earlier timeline, has already passed away in the present. This raises the question of the deeper mystery linking the two timelines. Bill instructs Joan to get ready for dinner. Meanwhile, we learn more about Joan's dark past. She had killed a nurse in the mental asylum where she was confined, stolen the nurse's identity, and escaped. Police and security forces are still pursuing her. Joan, aware of this danger, arms herself with a knife for protection after spotting a police officer near Bill. However, the officer leaves without incident, and Joan joins Bill for dinner. After dinner, the group heads back to the car to continue their journey. Linda, Bill's wife, remarks to Joan that Bill probably sees her as his daughter, which is why he is so eager to help her. However, Linda also hints at a hidden truth. Bill has been helping girls like Joan for years, but his motives are questionable. Linda's comments plant seeds of doubt in Joan's mind, making her wary of Bill's seemingly kind demeanor. In the past timeline, we see more of Rose and Catherine. With the school nearly empty except for the two girls and a few sisters, Rose has become increasingly suspicious of Catherine's behavior, especially after witnessing her strange and dangerous actions. Rose shares her concerns with the sisters, but they dismiss her claims, refusing to believe anything is wrong with Catherine. Meanwhile, Catherine continues to act erratically. She once again tells Rose that her parents will never come for her, not now, not ever. Rose struggles to comfort Catherine, trying to convince her to think positively, but Catherine refuses to listen. Her behavior becomes progressively more aggressive, leaving Rose deeply unsettled. The two timelines begin to converge, as the mysteries of Catherine's aggression, Rose's fate, and Bill's true intentions slowly unravel. The story takes a dark and horrifying turn when the two sisters at the school summon Rose and Catherine for prayers. Catherine refuses to participate, and when the sisters insist, she suddenly begins vomiting profusely. This unusual reaction alarms the sisters, prompting them to take measures to treat Catherine. However, Catherine starts behaving even more erratically. She does the opposite of everything the sisters instruct her to do and begins hurling vile insults at them. Such behavior was strictly forbidden at the school, leading the sisters to decide that Catherine must be punished to correct her actions. Amid this tension, the sisters receive a shocking call from Father Brian. He informs them that Catherine's parents, who were on their way to visit her, have died in a car accident. This news shocks everyone, especially Rose, because Catherine had foreseen this event in her visions. Rose struggles to explain this uncanny occurrence to the sisters, but they dismiss her concerns and, instead, vent their frustration on her. As punishment, they assign Rose the arduous task of clearing snow from the school grounds. Rose, though confused and frustrated at being punished for Catherine's behavior, complies with the task. After much effort, she successfully clears the snow and returns to inform the sisters. However, they refuse to open their door to her. Disheartened, Rose retreats to her room and tries to rest. Meanwhile, Father Brian grows increasingly concerned as the sisters fail to answer his calls. Sensing something amiss, he arrives at the school with a group of police officers. Unable to gain entry, they break down the door and are met with a horrifying scene, blood splattered everywhere and the lifeless bodies of the sisters lying on the floor. The gruesome discovery leaves them stunned, and the connection to Catherine becomes clear. To uncover the truth behind these events, the narrative shifts to Catherine's life before the school holidays began. Catherine, even at that time, was deeply withdrawn and isolated. She longed desperately to see her parents and waited for their arrival with great anticipation. Her growing loneliness and unusual behavior hinted at a deeper, darker mystery that is now beginning to surface. This unsettling sequence of events raises more questions about Catherine's visions, her behavior, and the tragedies surrounding her. The story continues to unravel the eerie connection between Catherine, the past, and the horrifying events unfolding in the present. Now we see Catherine talking, and in front of her appears a shadow with two horns. This was none other than a devil trying to possess Catherine, and perhaps he succeeded in his goal. From that moment onwards, Catherine started seeing the devil everywhere. The call she received, saying her parents wouldn't come, was actually the voice of the devil. This devil was attempting to drive Catherine completely insane so that he could use her to sacrifice more souls and drag them into hell, thus becoming even more powerful. Catherine managed to control herself for a while, but eventually, she became deeply possessed. The devil even appeared to Catherine when she went to Father Brian's room and again while she was talking to Rose. The same devil had shown Catherine visions that her mom and dad would die, and those visions turned out to be true. Catherine experienced all these things, and over time, she became so mad that she ended up murdering the two sisters, inflicting multiple wounds on their bodies. Meanwhile, Rose discovered that she wasn't pregnant, her periods were just delayed, which made her very happy. She was heading to the bathroom cheerfully when she saw Catherine there. Catherine attacked Rose with a knife and killed her on the spot. Catherine then did something with Rose's dead body. At that moment, Father Brian arrived at the sisters' house with some security officers. They discovered not only the sisters' dead bodies but also Rose's. One of the security officers started investigating the place and was shocked to find Catherine performing a ritual with the severed heads of all three. This was the work of the devil, using this young child as a medium. The security officer instructed Catherine to drop her knife, but Catherine's face had turned completely red, and she screamed loudly. The officer, for his protection, had to shoot her. Catherine fell down but was not fully dead. As the security officer approached Catherine, he realized she was still alive. Thus, Catherine was declared completely insane after this incident. Catherine was transferred to a mental asylum, and that's when we learned that the girl named Joan, who met Bill and his wife 10 years later, is none other than Catherine, now grown up. She had changed her identity to Joan so that no one would recognize her or come after her. In the present time, Catherine, as Joan, begins to suspect that there must be a reason why she was drawn to meet Rose's parents, and perhaps the devil was behind it, trying to lure her back. This ties back to the time when the devil had possessed Catherine's body. When Father Brian realized this, he arrived to perform a ritual to exorcise the devil. He chanted all his prayers and successfully drove the devil out of her body. The devil began to leave, but having lived inside Catherine's body for so long, Catherine had become attached to it. She even begged the devil to stay, but it did not. Now, in the present, Catherine believes the devil wants to return, and sacrificing Rose's parents might bring it back. Without much thought, Catherine goes straight to Bill and his wife and kills them both by slitting their throats. She then proceeds to perform the ritual at the same spot, following all the necessary steps. Despite her efforts, the dangerous devil does not return, it is gone forever. Reflecting on her past experiences and the murders she had just committed, Catherine is overwhelmed with guilt. She realizes that she has become a murderer who would do anything under the influence of a devil. Catherine begins to cry uncontrollably, unable to forgive herself for everything she has done. Her life had turned into a living hell. And thus, our chilling story comes to an end.